after some of the hard stuff that we've been doing in trig 10 and 9 and all those. So this is a little bit easier. It's more calculating based, okay? One of the things I have to admit is that at one point I told you that we were no longer going to use degrees, and we're going to use degrees in trig 11 and trig 12. So these are a couple of rules. This is actually called the cosine rule. You may want to write this down somewhere, or take a picture of it, screenshot of it, whatever, right? But this is how we're going to actually solve triangles. So if you're given, 2 pieces to a triangle, or 3 pieces to a triangle, and you need the other 3, this is how you find it. There's 2 parts to the rule. Just depending on what you're given, it's going to depend on what you use. Note in the second formula, this one, okay, the cosine A, it also works for cosine B and cosine C. You just simply switch the order of the letters, okay? Whatever the angle is in A will be the one that's minused on the end. And then the other 2 are the ones that are multiplied together, or added together in this case. So just pay attention to that. It's a derivative of these functions up here. It's just solved for cosine A. So, all right, so let's do some examples, okay? So if we are given a triangle and we need to solve it, that means I need all the other pieces. So in this case, example number 1, it's problem 2 in the book. Okay, I have a triangle. I have A, B, C. Little k, the uppercase of the angles, the lowercase are the sides. The sides are opposite of the angle. So in this case, C is 20, okay, A is 12, and angle B is 40. Okay, and we need to solve it, which means that we need little b, we need little a, or we need big A and big C. So those are the pieces that we're going to find. So the very first one, the easiest one to find is little b. So I'm actually going to need some more. So I'm going to move into the other side, and then we'll do that one when we're done with this one. Okay, so the very first thing we're going to do is solve for b. Now, b is b squared. If you look to the formula, it looks like this: a squared plus c squared minus 2ac times cosine of a. Make sure that your calculators are in degree mode. We're using degrees. If your calculator's in radian mode, you're going to get answers wrong. So since b squared is this, I'm actually going to write the answer as something like this. I'm going to move out of the way. Okay. So I'm going to write it as the square root so that I don't forget. When I was doing these problems to try to solve them before I did them on the board with you, I kept forgetting to do the square root. My answers were all wrong. So b squared is 20 squared plus 12 squared minus 2 times 12 times 20 times cosine of 40. And that's all under the square root sign. So this self-calculator work is very, very nice. All you have to do is plug it into a formula and make sure you're using the right formula. That's important. But when I do that, I'm going to get an approximate answer. It's not going to be an exact answer because there's lots of decimals involved. Okay, but it's approximately 13.3. So in my triangle, I have solved for little b, which is 13.3. Now I need to solve for big A and big C. Now if we go back to our formulas for a moment, you'll notice that if I'm solving for these ones, I'm actually going to use the second formula, okay, the cosine of something equals, and we're going to end up using the inverse cosines to solve it. So I'm going to go back here. I want to find A and C. It really does not matter which one I start with because I have both of them. So I'm looking at the wrong example, I apologize. So I'm going to go with cosine A, and actually C is going to be a little bit easier to find. We only have to find 2 angles, and the last one's easy to find. So cosine A is 13.3 squared, okay, because that's B, plus 20 squared, right, that's C, minus 12 squared, okay, that's A, over 2 times 20 times 13.3. Okay, the one that's minus is the same one that's the angle. Everything else is the other 2. Right. Again, calculator work. I'll end up with an answer. So I'm going to take the inverse of 0.814, and that's going to give me approximately 35.5. Now we have, that is A. Now I have 2 angles in a triangle, and if you remember your rules, this is important. For finding the third angle, if I'm given 2, it's really simple. 180 minus 40 minus 35.5 is going to give me 104.5. And those are all the pieces that I need. Okay? So the problems are long, but they're calculator based, should be just fine. All right? Okay, now let's look at the next problem, the next example, okay? Which is my one over here, which is number 10. Okay, so this example here, I've given only sides. So I need to find all of the angles. So this one I will actually have to do 2 of my cosines equals. So I'm going to do this as 10, 8, and 5. So this is the opposite of 5 is B. Okay, opposite of 8 is A. Opposite of 10 is C. So those are the angles. I'm looking for all 3 angles. I only have to solve it twice, then I can do 180 minus 5 the other one. So I'm going to use that second formula that was on the board there. So it's going to be cosine of A equals 5 squared plus 10 squared minus 8 squared. Okay, keep in mind again, A is 8, so that's the one that's minused, all over 2 times 5 times 10. And I end up with the inverse of cosine of 0.61, which gives me 52.4. Okay, now I'm also going to do cosine of B. It wouldn't matter, I could do cosine C if I wanted to. Either way, you'll get the same answer. So I'm going to come over here and do cosine of B. Now, this one, remember, the one that's going to be minus is going to be B squared. So I'm going to do A squared plus C squared. So 8 squared plus 10 squared minus 8 squared. Wait, what am I looking at? Minus 5 squared. Total is the one. Okay, I was looking at the wrong problem. 5 squared. Too many things written on my paper. Divided by 2 times 8 times 10. Okay? Again, all the calculator stuff, the hard part is making sure it gets in the formula correctly. Okay, the one that's minus is this one that's opposite of the angle. Everything else is the other 2 sides. So this is going to be the cosine inverse of 0.869. Okay, the 8.869 came from this fraction. I take the inverse of it and I get approximately 29.65. Now to find my third angle, 180 minus 29.65 minus 52.4 is going to equal 97.94. Okay, keep in mind also that rounding error may cause your answers to be slightly different. Okay, as long as they're very close, you're fine. All right. So those are the first 2 examples. Okay, I have 2 more for you. Okay. This is a word problem. All right, and I know how much you guys love word problems. So I am not sure. Actually, you know what? We're gonna stop here. I just decided we're gonna do the word problems in class. So that's it for the video tonight. I will post a homework on Edmodo.